Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to learn about the modes of communication. The important points in today's lesson are going to be letters, telephones, computers and mass communication. Now, before we get into today's lesson, here is something to boost up your knowledge. Communication is very important in our life. Can you name the fastest means of communication? At present, the mobile phone is the fastest means of communication. Now, let's imagine your best friend goes to live in a different city. How will you keep in touch with him? There are many ways to do so. Maybe pick up the landline and give him a call. Or call him using your parents' phone. You can write him a letter. Or send him a card or a message through the email. Now, this method of receiving and sending messages is called means of communication. Long ago, people used to use pigeons for this. And then later on, even men would go on foot or on animals to deliver messages. But this took a lot of time. Right now, we have faster means of communication. Letters. Till a few years back, letters were the most common means of communication. Postcards, inland letters, aerograms, or envelopes are the different kinds of letters that you find. You can buy them at a post office. After writing our message, we write the address and drop the letter in a red color postbox. The postman collects the letters from the letterbox and takes them to the post office. There, they sort out the letters. Then, they send them to different places by bus, train, or plane. Some letters reach its place in 2 to 3 days, and some may reach in 4 to 5 days. For express delivery, we must write the PIN code in the address of the letter. The PIN code consists of 6 numbers. If we want a letter to reach the person fast, then we must send it through speed post or a courier service. We can send gifts or other items using the courier. Telegraphy is a method of sending messages to distant places using wires. The messages that we send using this method are called telegrams. Until a few years ago, telegrams were a very popular means of communication. Now let's talk about one of the most important means of communication, the telephone. The telephone is the fastest means of communication. We use a telephone to talk to our friends and relatives living within the city, in other cities, and even in other countries. Mobiles or cellular phones help us to communicate even when we are traveling. We can also send messages through the short message service or the SMS. We use the fax to send a written message, a letter, or a photograph to someone. It reaches the person immediately because it is connected to a telephone line. Now, let's talk about the internet and the email. Today, the computer has become an important means of communication. The electronic mail or email and the internet are means of communication that work through the computer. We can send videos, pictures, letters, and books from one computer to another. The internet can tell us about the weather reports and the latest news from all over the world. Letters, mobile phones, telephones, and computers are known as personal means of communication. Two people or a small group of people can use these personal means of communication. Now, did you know the mobile industry is the fastest growing industry in the world? Mass communication. Mass communication is a means of giving messages or information to a large number of people at the same time. Newspapers, radio, and television are the means of mass communication. Let's talk about newspapers. Newspapers bring in a lot of news from different parts of the world. They reach the people in just one day. Newspapers are the cheapest means of communication. Radio and television. Radio was the first wireless means of communication. It sends messages that we can listen to. We can also listen to music, plays, and sports commentaries. Television is the most popular means of communication. Through television, we not only get the news, but also see the person giving the news. Radio and television also bring us many programs on education, agriculture, health, and sports. Now, did you know? The e-reader is a small electronic gadget on which you can read books. You can download the books from the internet and read them. Now here is a quick sum up of today's lesson. We can send and receive messages through different means of communication. We send letters through a post office. The telephone is the fastest and easiest means of communication. We can send an email through the computer, and newspapers, radio, and television are means of mass communication. So here is the glossary of today's lesson. Cheap means low price. Cellular. In context of mobile telephones, it is a system that uses a number of short-range radio stations to cover the area that it serves. Communicate. Means of exchanging information by speaking or writing. Email. The system of sending messages through electronic means. So here is a mind map of today's lesson. We use different means of communication to give messages or information. Earlier means of communication included envelopes, letters, postcards, pigeons, and messengers. The latest means of communication are telephones, the internet, and email. Mass communication refers to giving information or sending messages to a large number of people at the same time. Newspapers, radio, television, and e-reader are means of mass communication.